You live here?
Yes.
Well, maybe you know what a zombie is. When a person dies and is buried, it seems to certain voodoo priests who have the power to bring him back to life.
Horrible.
It's worse than horrible because a zombie has no will of his own. You see them sometimes walking around blindly with dead eyes, following orders, not knowing what they do, not caring.
You mean like Democrats?
You mean like Democrats? That goes all the way back to Bob Hope. Bob for Texaco Hope. So I guess with the Democrats, the more things change, the more they stay the same. You know, they loved slavery in the 1860s. Now they love millions and millions of illegal aliens so they can use them and abuse them as cheap labor and kick them to the curb when they need to. You see a pattern here? Because I do see a pattern here. Well, a very happy Wednesday, very happy hump day to you. Always a big day in the Clinton household, as you know, because Wednesday is hump day. And here on the Chris Plant Show, what is it? It's Mailbag Day. Mailbag Day. I have my mailbag questions in front of me now. I've just begun to analyze them. We've got underage girls and Big Mike and black people and Jason the liberal on Newsmax and Republicans snatching defeat from the jaws of victory and all kinds of good stuff. Wonderful stuff. But let me get going on a couple of other items as we begin this hour. There's a lot going on in the crazy, crazy world. And part of this crazy world, Chicago, Illinois. What's going on in Chicago, Illinois, you might ask? Well, plenty going on in Chicago, Illinois. I haven't updated myself on the homicides and the shootings in Chicago in the last few days, and I should probably do that. But I did catch wind of a little bit of news. Every Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. Central Time, 7 a.m. Eastern Time, I go on with my friends at WLS Radio in Chicago, and I did that today with the fun guys there. And they really are fun. They're great guys, and we have a wonderful time. But we're talking about some of the madness going on there, because the place is full of Democrats, you know, and you know how they can be. And talking to Ray and to Tom this morning, we touched on a couple of them, but there are wacky things going on. For example, here's a story out of Chicago. Normally this story comes out of New York, but the Democrats are going national with everything bad. And here's NBC Fake News. This is the network, NBC Fake News Network. Woman set on fire on Chicago transit train after man pours fluid on her and ignites it. He ignited the fluid, but really is igniting the woman. The woman is in critical condition after getting into an altercation on the L train system, you know, the elevated trains, with a man. A person of interest was taken into custody on Tuesday. Now, the people at NBC doubtless will not talk about this, will not tell the story, but the lady is a white lady, and the man that drenched her in flammable liquid and then set her on fire, a black man. And I know that will come as a shock to almost everyone, but a woman is in, and now, again, the reason that matters is because the news media loves to avoid talking about race unless it's the kind of racism that the Democrats like to talk about. Had this been a white man setting a black woman on fire, then it would be instant national news. It would be on everyone's coffee table in the morning. It would be the lead in every hour of the morning news programs. But when it's a black man lighting a white woman on fire, then it's not going to be on the news, because that's how corrupt they are. A woman is in critical condition after she was set on fire riding a Chicago Transit Authority train. Police said President Trump wanted to go in there and fight crime, and they want to fight Trump because they like crime. The Democrat mayor there, Let's Go Brandon Johnson, he's a former educator. I'm making quotation marks with my fingers, a teacher and a school administrator, not on the side of civilization, and nobody can read, write, or arithmetic if Brandon Johnson was their teacher. So she's in critical condition. Police said a person of interest was taken into custody in connection with the incident on Tuesday. No details about the person were released. NBC doesn't look into it. The woman, 26 years old, was riding what Chicagoans called the L. It's an elevated train, and they put the letter L in quotation marks at NBC. On Monday night, when she got into an argument with an approximately 45-year-old man, police said in a statement, the verbal altercation turned physical when the man poured a liquid on the woman and ignited it. You think he just happened to have that stuff with him, perhaps, and it wasn't his plan all along, and he went there to get in a fight with the white lady so he could use the gas and then set her on fire. Just a coincidence that he had all these things with him. Causing her to catch fire, police said. It's not clear what the liquid was. It was flammable. That much we know. When the train stopped, the attacker fled, and the woman got off the train and fell to the ground. The fire was put out before police got to the scene. That's good to hear. The woman sustained severe burns all over her body and was taken to Stroger Hospital in critical condition. An investigation continues. That's good to hear. According to NBC Chicago, passengers saw paramedics load the burned woman into an ambulance. A witness told the station that the woman appeared to be in a really bad state, is what the quote is. I just saw a lady that was laying on the ground, and they were trying to give her CPR, a witness told NBC Chicago. And she looked like she was in an awful lot of pain, I would imagine. The train lines were shut down for hours, NBC Chicago reported, and service resumed around 1:30 a.m. Trains were running on schedule on Tuesday morning. Now, that is story one out of Chicago. Here's another one out of Chicago that's brand new as well. And it is this. A pregnant mom and her son were jumped, 9-year-old son, jumped by a gang of kids, not even teenagers, but kids. Pregnant mom and her 9-year-old son jumped by gang of kids. And this is a pretty crazy story. It's now making international news as well. Pregnant mother and her son, 9 years old, are beaten to a pulp and thrown to the ground by gang outside of a school in Chicago. It's a school. A pregnant mom with an autoimmune disease and her 9-year-old son were rushed to a hospital after a gang of kids viciously beat them in the street. Now, Kershawanda Hatter, 33 years old, and her two young kids were walking home from Orville Bright Elementary School in Chicago when the brutal attack unfolded. Horrifying video showed the group of school-aged children following the victims on the sidewalk while screaming profanities at them in the moments leading up to the vicious assault, the Daily Mail writes in the United Kingdom. The mob of kids yelled insults at Hatter and her 9-year-old son in the video while encouraging the others to smack and beat her, the pregnant mother. The rowdy attackers were seen as they cornered the two victims against a chain-link fence. The little boy hugged his mom in an apparent effort to protect her as the gang began pummeling her, the pregnant woman with the autoimmune disease, And that's because they're being raised in Democrat households, the gang of kids, violent criminal kids who will grow up to be violent criminal adults. Video showed the mom beating the pregnant mother in the face while she attempted to shield her son. They're trying to save one another, and the violent mob of Democrat attackers are just beating the living heck out of them there. The attackers slammed the pair to the ground. One kid in a yellow sweatshirt kicked Hatter in the face, the pregnant mother, and Hatter and her son laid helplessly on the ground as the gang of children swarmed them, appearing that separating the two again and slamming the 9-year-old to the ground this time. The harrowing video shows one of the kids violently ripping Hatter's wig off before punching her in the face. The two victims were taken to Trinity Hospital in critical condition after the assault had her filmed a live stream while she was in the hospital. And her face is beat up, and here are the pictures of the thing. I had her assured that her children were physically fine, saying, "It's me. I'm the one who had to be in the hospital," she said. The pregnant mother, who has also been sick after being treated for sickle cell anemia. She's a black woman. On Tuesday, local outlet WGN Channel 9 in Chicago showed the mother and family walking to a meeting with school administrators about the horrific assault. Police escorted the family as a sea of supporters followed her. That's nice to hear. Hatter spoke to local media and others gathered outside the school. And the video is pretty horrific. It's what you'd expect. But here's the thing. Apparently the kids doing the attack are 10-year-olds, maybe 11-year-olds. But this is the next generation of criminals being raised in Chicago by Democrat parents in Democrat households. Man, oh, man. The mother explained that the gang of kids were waiting along the sidewalk to jump them. I asked my kids to come to the next side of the street and sit next to me so they wouldn't get jumped, but that didn't work. She had that her attackers followed them all the way home. The first attack occurred on the son, and she was being dragged in the grass. And this is all perfectly normal. Now the woman is 33 years old. She's black. She's got lots of tattoos on her, and she's walking with her kid, and that's the thing. Now that brings us to the mayor of Chicago, whose name is Let's Go Brandon Johnson, because Brandon Johnson he's a former educator. That's a word that they use, but I think they don't know what it means. And he's a former school teacher and administrator in Chicago, where this is what they teach the 10-year-olds, I think. Isn't that amazing? But let's go to Mayor Brandon Johnson, because he doesn't know anything about anything. His head is wedged so far into the dark and remote location that he may never recover from any of this. But listen to what this guy said. He's going off it's a podcast with lefties, and he's talking about the Trump administration attacking. Now, President Trump wanted to send in federal law enforcement to fight crime in Chicago, ICE and other federal law enforcement, and National Guard troops to go and to help back up the police so that laws could be enforced, so that it's not a third world hellhole of crime and death, which is what the Democrats visit upon everything that they take over. But listen to the mayor, because he's anti-Trump, he's anti-ICE, he's anti-law enforcement, he's pro-illegal alien, he's pro-illegal everything. Here is Chicago Democrat Mayor Brandon Johnson talking about the Trump administration. How dare they fight crime?
We know that the intentional attacks that are coming from the Trump administration and the extreme right in this country has very much been what I call it's an attempt to relitigate the Civil War. Right? They have not accepted the results that the North actually won. Right? Because if you look at all of the attacks, it's not just black cities. He's going after education, housing, transportation, good paying jobs, and healthcare. Those are literally the 5 demands of descendants of slaves post-Civil War. So it's evident that they are not, committed to actually realizing the full dream of what this country can offer.
What a maroon. What? And he should be, I think the military should go and arrest him today, take him to Gitmo. That is just, I'm sorry, the intentional attacks by Trump and the extreme right? You mean enforcing the laws as passed by Congress that you failed to do, while pregnant mothers of children are beaten to a pulp by gangs of your criminal children that you're inflicting upon civilization? And I'm sorry, what's this? Slavery? Do you know that you're the party of slavery and the bullwhip, that Jefferson Davis was the president of the Confederate States of America and that he was a Democrat, and Abraham Lincoln, who freed the slaves, was a Republican, and Democrats shot him in the head and murdered him? Do you know anything? He was in charge of education in Chicago of students. Isn't that amazing? These people are too stupid to be up and taking nourishment. And I'm sorry, post-slavery, education, housing, transportation, good jobs, and health care. I don't recall health care being a part of the post-Civil War American reality. but the Democrat Party bringing communism to everything. Aren't they amazing? And again, he was educating people. Wow. You're the party of the bullwhip, of the plantation, of the Confederate States, of Nathan Bedford Forrest and the KKK. You're the party of Jim Crow, and now you're the party of the massacre. You know that cooking on Thanksgiving can be very high stakes, can't it? Right? You're on the spot. You're cooking right in front of everybody. Feels like one dried out turkey can ruin it all, and it feels that way because one dried out turkey can ruin it all. That's why I love my Chef IQ Sense. This wireless cooking thermometer, we use it at home. It's remarkable. Takes the guesswork out of holiday cooking. The USDA says turkey needs to hit 165 degrees Fahrenheit in order to be safe to eat. Your eyes can deceive, of course, looking at your turkey peeking through the window, peeking into the oven there. But Chef IQ Sense ensures that you hit the perfect temperature every time, and it couldn't be easier to use. You just insert the sensor, you tell the app what it is that you're cooking, then you sit back and relax, because Chef IQ Sense tells you when to flip, when to turn, when to take it off the heat, even how long to let it sit and rest on the counter before you start carving. No more peek in the oven, no more dried out turkey, just perfectly cooked meals every time. And it works for steaks and chicken and fish, whatever it is that you're cooking all year long. You're going to wonder how you ever cooked without it. Plus, it's the ultimate gift, perfect for a seasoned chef, for kitchen rookies, for everyone in between, too. Right now, you can get 30% off the entire website with the code PLANT at chefiq.com. That's chefiq.com. The promo code is PLANTE. Yes, sir. Yeah, we've also got a bit of an update out of the massacre of Christians in Africa. Got an update for you. Little UN action on that yesterday. Coming up.
He's going after education, housing, transportation, good-paying jobs, and health care. Those are literally the 5 demands of descendants of slaves post-Civil War.
I'm thinking about now retired Navy Captain Mark Kelly, and texting with a friend of mine who says, that it might not be insurrection, it might be mutiny. It might be mutiny by Navy Captain Mark Kelly, which I think could be true. Also, another funny item. Have you ever seen the portrait, it's a nice painting, of Bill Clinton reclined in a chair wearing a blue dress, kind of like Monica Lewinsky wore, and red high-heeled pumps. You ever see that? It hung in Jeffrey Epstein's mansion for many years. That's coming. And it's Mailbag Day, too. As I said, it is Mailbag Day because it's Wednesday, and in the Bill and Hillary Clinton household, it's Hump Day. Hump Day. And it's Wednesday, so Hillary Clinton waking up face down in a pool of her own dried vomit, as any school child knows. But being Mailbag Day and my tendency to get caught up in the news of the morning and delay my Mailbag Day, I'm going to get to Mailbag Day right now, because today is Mailbag Day, and there's no time like the present. We have, is that Jeffrey Epstein in our hallway? Who is that? That's not, that kid. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's just a light swinging back and forth. That's, never mind. That's not Jeffrey Epstein. All right, let's get to the mailbag. I thought just for a moment, but no, because the Democrats took care of him, didn't they? Yes, they did. He's not bothering them anymore. And now it's the news media's turn to pick up the torch and make sure that nobody talks about the Democrats and Jeffrey Epstein, even though there are Democrats falling through the ceiling tiles all around Washington and New York. And there are Democrats, and at Harvard with Lawrence Summers and so many others. But let me get back to let's get back to the. I do need to return to the Epstein update. It'll be the update, the upstate. What? Huh? All right. Let's go to the mailbag. First one was mailed in. And very nice, in the U.S. mail in an envelope and written up on a computer at home. And it begins, Hi, Chris. See, that's appropriate. It's a greeting, just like that. I'm fond of the Ukrainian people. I see them as rugged, common-sense people like an American farmer type. That's fair enough. Unfortunately, they inherited from the Soviet Union corruption. While visiting there, I found a novel way in how they dealt with corruption there. Listen to this. So our friend visited Ukraine, likes the Ukrainian people, salt to the earth types, very good. And he continues. The Russian puppet president, Viktor Yanukovych, remember him, lived in a tool shed in Eastern Europe after becoming president. He built a mansion. So he lived in a tool shed, and then he became president. And when he became president, he lived in a tool shed in eastern Ukraine. After becoming president, he built a mansion called the Mezireka Residence, something in Ukrainian, on the site of a former Ukrainian monastery, which was torn down during the Soviet rule over Ukraine, during the USSR era in Ukraine. The home there has imported Italian marble. It has imported Italian marble. It has a private zoo. It has a guest house built just for Putin. See, because Yanukovych was a puppet of the Russians and remnant of the Soviet era, as is Putin to some degree or another. But so he was living in a tool shed. Then he was elected president. He's like, hey, I'm the president now. I'm corrupt. I'll build a mansion. We'll bring in Italian marble. I'll have a private zoo like I'm a drug lord in Latin America. A guest house just for Putin. Now, the Ukrainian government opened his home up and turned it into a museum so the people could see his political corruption. That's kind of fun because Viktor Yanukovych came in, built a big mansion for himself since he was president, probably planning on never leaving. And I'm going to have a zoo. I'm going to have Italian marble. I'm going to, live like the rich because I'm carrying on the Soviet traditions, right? And then he asked, my query to you is if we would open a museum of political corruption in the United States, what person would you choose? George Soros, Nancy Pelosi, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, or Joe Biden? What location would you choose? A private home, presidential library, or one of their foundation centers? Thanks, Chris. Always enjoy your show. See, that's a very thoughtful and complete with historical background and all kinds of good stuff. And Michael showed me this yesterday, and I said, wow, that's a heck of a mailbag question. It really is. But the question is, if we're going to have a museum on political corruption in the United States, what person would you choose and what location would you choose? And boy, I got to tell you, there's a lot to choose from here because you're absolutely right. Now, Barack Obama is in the middle of building the ugliest presidential library in the history of humankind in Chicago, Illinois, and it looks just like a Soviet building. It reminds everyone of the Soviet filthy, stinking communist union, right? And what's he going to? They're not even calling it a library because then they know that no Democrats will show up. They might think there are books in there or something. And that's a pretty good one. But I got to say, I also like the idea of using a house for a museum on political corruption. And then that expands your because just look at Barack Obama's houses. He's got a $15 million house on the ocean in Martha's Vineyard where his chef that he brought from the White House drowned, even though he didn't know how to swim while he was paddleboarding, even though he didn't know how to swim. That was his hobby, paddleboarding. When you don't know how to swim, that's a weird hobby to choose. But never mind that. And also Obama bought the house in Hawaii from the TV show Magnum P.I., Tom Selleck and all that stuff. And he's a friend of mine, Matthew Foldy, was there in Hawaii last week, went by the old Magnum P.I. mansion that's now the Obama family mansion. And they built the illegal seawall around it, right, which was completely illegal. So that'd be a nice feature at the Museum on Corruption. And they tore down the beautiful, I think, Italian villa-style house from Magnum P.I. that was on the oceanfront property in Hawaii. Now you can't see the house because they built a giant hedge around it, so you can't even peek at them. And I got to tell you, it's tough because Bill Clinton, with all the corruption, going back to their cattle futures and a Rose Law Firm in Little Rock, Arkansas, to the sexual abuse of the teenagers and cheating at everything and lying about everything. Choosing a Clinton location would be good. But this is a tough one, because there's so much to choose from. Can we have 2 museums on political corruption? Because one might be the Obama mansion on the ocean in Hawaii, which used to be the Magnum PI mansion that he tore down. That could be good. Built the illegal seawall around because he said he could slow the rise of the oceans, but he just built an illegal seawall to be on the safe side. So we have that going. And then there's the Obama Library in Chicago, which is not called the Obama Library. It's called the Obama Corruption Center or something like that. But if I had to choose one, I've got to say, I think I would choose the Chicago Obama Library, although there's plenty to choose from. You choose his mansion in Martha's Vineyard, on Martha's Vineyard. Choose his mansion on the ocean in Hawaii. You could choose his mansion in Washington, in the shadow of the main mosque in Washington, off of Embassy Row, for your museum on political corruption in the United States. But since I have to choose one, I'm going to choose the Obama Library, the Obama Center in Chicago, because the building itself is a symbol of the corruption of the Democratic Party and their desire to be more like the Soviet Union, Soviet communism. And I know we've posted pictures on social media of the Obama Library in Chicago, the Obama Center in Chicago. They also overran a park that was built to honor women, famous women, and that's gone now. We wiped that out because, he likes Larry Sinclair. He prefers Larry Sinclair. And he's married to Big Mike. Oh, she comes up later, too. Hang on, because she's in the questions. Now, let's get to thank you for that question. So I got that. And I honestly, I don't have the envelope in front of me, so I don't have the name of the person that sent this first question in, and I apologize for that. We'll try to grab it before we're done here. But that was a good one. That's the Ukraine and the Museum of Corruption and Viktor Yanukovych and all kinds of good background. Thinking people, our listeners, brilliant, great American people. All right, next question. Thank you, Anonymous. Let's go to the next question from Mark. Mark, why is the GOP, quote, leadership, end quote, so gutless? Why is the GOP leadership so gutless? That is that's a fair question. It's been asked for decades and decades. And I've got to say that right now, I think the Republicans are not in bad shape when it comes to the long history of Republican politicians in Washington being gutless and not standing up and fighting and brawling. A part of it is they know that the entirety of the news media and the popular entertainment media will slander them, smear them, slaughter them, call them all kinds of terrible names. Anytime they stand up and fight for anything, they're the villains, they're the bad guys. And that has created over the course of decades a disincentive. Now, Democrats firebomb the Jews, and they praise them on CNN and in the New York Times. Always been ironic. But right now, I've got to say, Mark, we've got Trump in the White House. Now, there's nothing gutless about him or anything that he does every single day of the week for about 18 hours a day. And I've got to say that Speaker Johnson, who is not a ferocious brawler, but we've been playing audio of Johnson the last few days talking about Epstein and all that. And I got to say, Speaker Johnson is a lot better than, we had the speaker that couldn't speak. That was kind of amazingly Republican. And then we had, that guy from Wisconsin. And we've had some terrible Republican speakers. But in the pantheon of modern day Republican speakers, go back, Newt Gingrich was great. And he still is, but he was great when he was speaker. And Speaker Johnson is a lot better than a lot of the Republican leaders we've had in the past.
The Democrats had every one of the Epstein files in their possession for the 4 long years of the Biden administration. The Biden Department of Justice had the files the entire time. And not a single one of the people who are so loud and animated right now, they never said anything about it for all those 4 years.
Minor detail. And that's Speaker Johnson. He's calm, cool, collected. He's steady, and he's got steely eyes. He's got good Speaker of the House hair. And I got to say, and he comes out and he says, now the news media then buries it because they're filthy, rotten, corrupt. And I got to say, John Thune, the Senate leader, he stood firm through all this Epstein stuff, didn't buckle, didn't give an inch. I think Thune is a steely-eyed, upper Midwestern guy and a country guy, and he's tough and sturdy. And I think Speaker Mike Johnson deserves some respect and more time because he's done well. And, of course, Trump is ferocious. So he's not gutless at all. But, Mark, I know what you're saying. Historically, it has been the case much too frequently. And right now we're in not bad shape, pretty good shape. But that is the history of the Republicans. And part of it is they're afraid. They're afraid that they'll be the villain of the story because they always are, even though they should usually be the hero of the story. But, Mark, a fair question, and keep asking it for years and years to come. Got to keep asking that question. Why is the GOP leadership so gutless? Sly, next question. Thank you, Mark. Next question is from Sly. And Sly says, why do the Republicans always snatch defeat from the jaws of victory and not do away with the filibuster so Trump can accomplish his agenda? Now, you see, again, another Republican voter asking what's wrong with the Republicans. Why don't they fight? Why aren't they ferocious? So it's similar to the first question from Mark. And do away with the filibuster so Trump can accomplish his agenda. Changing the rules of the Senate, and honestly, I'm not an authority on the rules of the Senate as Mitch McConnell is, for example. But if you do away with the filibuster, what this reminded us of was the James Carville line, who is, the ragin' Cajun. That's not the only ragin' he is, but calling for destroying America, the ragin' Cajun James Carville of the Clinton administration.
I think this is the lowest the Supreme Court has been rated, and it is not written anywhere in the Constitution you have to have 9. And I think the way to cure that very quickly is expand it to 13 and get some balance on the court.
Yeah, some balance on the court, and that's not all.
And I also think that the Democrats are going to have to move to admit the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico states, because right now 18% of the United States elects 52 senators.
Yeah, because 18% of the United States elects 52 senators. Whoever that idiot woman was sitting next to him had no idea what he was talking about. So pack the Supreme Court, pack the Senate, and, of course, do away with the filibuster, which is another thing that Carville is advocating. And then all of America goes by the wayside because the Democrats. And there is that fight. And I'm kind of a traditionalist, and I like the idea of keeping the filibuster in place. The Senate is supposed to be the greatest deliberative body on earth and the saucer that cools the coffee. And the Democrats want to blow everything up and burn what's left. I'd like to hold on to American traditions. And so now if the Democrats, and then the Democrats are going to come in, as President Trump said, the moment they get in, they're going to do away with the filibuster and give the bums rush to everything. And then they will once again expose themselves, reveal themselves as the anti-American, un-American, commie, authoritarian, third worlders that they are. That's a fact. I got to take a pause here and come back to the mailbag. When Mary said, "Let it be done to me according to your word," the Virgin Mary embraced God's plan, even with uncertainty, risk, and sacrifice. Her yes brought Jesus into the world, and today, countless mothers across America face the same moment of decision when they see their baby on an ultrasound. They might be scared, they might be unsure. Their moment to say yes could pass by. But you can make a difference right now because of the generosity of listeners like you. Preborn and the Preborn network of clinics across America can help provide immediate support, helping thousands of pregnant young mothers embrace life. And over 380,000 babies have already been rescued thanks to Preborn. This holiday season, don't let another life be lost. Be the hope for hurting mothers and at-risk babies. Just say yes to life today. Please donate. Donate securely by dialing #250, and when prompted, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250. The keyword is baby. Or go to Al Gore's Amazing Internet and visit preborn.com/plant. That's me, Plante. Preborn.com/plant. Every gift is tax deductible, of course, and it impacts eternity. That's all. So we got that. And coming back to more mailbag questions from you, our beloved American listeners. All right, I'm looking at the clock, and I have 3 mailbag questions remaining. One from Fang Fang. We have Fang Fang in with a mailbag question. We also have an update on Jeffrey, several Jeffrey Epstein updates for you and the Democrats. But right now, let's go back to the telephones, and let's talk to Steve calling from Northwest Indiana, maybe near Gary or South Bend or something. Steve, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Yeah, I was born in Gary. I'm about halfway in between South Bend and Gary now.
Very good.
I'd like to join you in beating up on the Chicago Democrats. I saw a picture on the news the other night of Obama's whatever he wants to call it. It's not a library, I guess, but it reminded me of a German flak tower during World War II. You know, they used to build these giant monoliths and put 88s on top of them to shoot down the bombers, and that's what it reminded me of, just a German flak tower. But Brandon Johnson, I saw him in an interview when he was running for mayor, and he said he never gave a flunking grade and he never gave homework.
You know, I think we played that soundbite of Brandon Johnson at one point. It's almost like Harvard, where everybody gets an A. You see that? They give everybody A's and everything at Harvard. And the left has dismantled education, destroyed education, public and private, in the United States because they know that an uneducated, ignorant idiot is going to be a Democrat. See how that works? It's part of their long-term plan.